Hi, I'm back with the IKEA KNÄPPA cardboard camera, and I took a lot of nice photos on my trip to Milan. We took the train through Austria, and I can highly recommend that. Relaxed ride and scenic views. I also took the camera to a classic car show and got some nice snapshots there. Have a look at these. Pretty nice. I really like the look of these pictures. It's almost like a Polaroid. Not in the way of how the images look, but in the way that the images look nostalgic. The colors are a bit off, dynamic range isn't so great, and you can forget low-light performance. There is none. I wanted to compare them to my iPhone photos from 2012. Maybe they weren't much better, so I dug through my archive and here's what I found. In 2012, I had just gotten an iPhone 4 with a 5 megapixel camera, which came out in 2010. And some of those images really don't look that much different than the IKEA camera, but most are definitely better, especially in lower light conditions. And so I went back to the photos of my iPhone prior to that, a 3G with a 2 megapixel camera. And while there are certain similarities, I think these cameras are not trying to do the same thing. Both iPhones are trying to create a more realistic representation of what you're photographing, while the IKEA camera is not. Or it isn't, just failing at it, if you want to call it failure. But I think the images look beautiful and have their own specific charm to them. So is this it? Is it just nostalgia that makes these images look nice to me? I think it's also a certain simplicity that makes them appealing. And it's not a perfect representation of reality, but a little piece of art. Not all of them, but some. Let me know what you think about these images and how they made you feel, and why you think that is. But what would I have thought about the camera in 2012? I mostly bought these as cheap, fun backup presents and never thought I'd use them myself. I think I didn't believe the photos would be any good. I saw it more as a novelty that would have been a cool present to anyone who's only mildly interested in photography, tech, or design. Or a great thing to bring to a party where everyone could take pictures, but you can't see them right away. But then I forgot about them. So I have no way of knowing what my past self would have thought, of course, but I think the novelty would have worn off pretty quickly back then, and the nostalgic touch wouldn't have been as strong as it is now. So I'm kind of happy I've rediscovered this camera now where I can actually appreciate it. Let's talk about the experience of using the camera. You can see I had to change the turbocraft batteries already. This thing needs quite some juice. I would not have expected that since it doesn't have a screen, and I thought that's kind of the battery sucker. The batteries lasted about a day until the red low battery indicator LED went off. But I was still able to use it for more than 2 days with that indicator glowing red. It had to catch its breath in between, but it worked. You can see here I turned it on, it's still green. I take a photo, the photo is done, and you can see by the red light that these batteries are also done after using the camera for only 1 day at the car show. Well, let's test them actually. Okay, you can see they're down to 1.36-ish volts from 1.5. It's crazy that it needs so much juice. I remember some early digital cameras ran for days on double A's and... but maybe that's the thing. They ran on double A's and these are triple A's. And, well, let's check. Double A's basically have more than double the capacity of triple A's. Well, the more you know. Well, one more thing I wanted to do is doing what we should have done last time already, looking at the manual. And guess where to find that manual? On the camera itself. It's actually printed on the camera here, but I only realized that in hindsight. I can see it now, but the illustration wasn't clear to me when I first looked at it. I just thought it said, read the manual first, dummy. And I'm very happy to ignore such recommendations and find things out by myself. But looking at it more closely, I can see that the little IKEA guy has a question and the camera gives the answer, but he already has the instructions in his hands. That's kind of confusing to me. He should ask for the instructions in his thinking bubble, then it would be way more clear. Maybe like this, and hands free. Just a little exploration into graphic and UX design. Let's get to the manual finally. But first I'll plug that in and show you how this behaves in general when connected to a computer. It takes a few seconds longer than I would expect, and then it shows up as no name. That's always very confidence inspiring. Anything that's not a cheap USB stick usually has a dedicated volume name, but not this one. And it takes a while to load the content, but that's not even the most remarkable thing here. Check out the date of the files. 1st of January 1970 at 1 p.m. All of them. I wasn't even alive back then to take the photos, and neither was the technology of this camera. And as funny as that might be at first glance, it's quite annoying if you want to keep chronological order of your photos. Yes, they are numbered, but if you sort them by date in any archiving tool, that'll mess up. Especially after you rotated some of them, which saved them with today's date. And before you can do that, you have to unlock the files after you transferred them. You see the little padlock icon down here, and you just select them all, right click, get info, and there's a little checkbox that you can just check or rather uncheck, and now they're unlocked. You can't unlock them on the camera, and you can't delete individual files. You have to delete them all by pressing the delete button on the front with a paperclip, or I use the pen for example. Let's get to the manual finally. As I mentioned, it is stored on the camera and it's just called README PDF and has a size of 2 megabytes. Unfortunately, you cannot delete it. It would free up some space for around 10 more photos at least. The camera has 16 megabytes of internal storage, so 2 megabytes is quite a substantial chunk of that. So let me read you the README file now. It's nicely illustrated in a classic IKEA style, with the little helper guy here showing you what tools and batteries you need and how to do it step by step. As we found out in the first video, we don't actually need a screwdriver, but it's still a nice detail to show it like this. Ideally, you would also use a wrench to hold the plastic nuts, of course. The other illustration you can see here shows you how to turn it on, wait for the green light, hold still for 3 seconds and hit the shutter button. I really like the last tip here. To improve picture quality, avoid low light levels. And last but not least, let's take a quick look at how the cardboard construction of the camera held up. Overall, pretty good. The surface is peeling off a bit here where you hold your thumb, and the battery compartment is bulging a bit in the bottom, so the batteries are wobbling a bit back and forth. But overall, nothing too crazy. I didn't treat it like raw eggs and just put it in my pocket and whipped it out whenever I wanted to take a shot. I only used it for 5 days in total, but I think if you would take this on a 2-3 weeks vacation, it might even get more patina. And I think that's rather nice actually. More products should be designed to get more uniquely yours over time. And other products shouldn't be designed so that you have to treat them like raw eggs. It's way more fun if your devices don't need to be treated like newborn babies and grab all your attention. I think I might make one more video where we will take this apart and look at the PCB and whatever, and maybe look into circuit bending, which is kind of a crazy thing that I discovered was a thing really. Look at these pictures and photos and cameras. But yeah, if you're interested in that, stay tuned, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and now turn off your device and go hike in the mountains or something. Bye. Let me introduce you to Werk, the sponsor of today's video. Based in Copenhagen, Werk is a contemporary kitchenware company dedicated to developing honest and high-quality tools for everyday use. Follow the link in the description or go to werk.com and sign up for the newsletter to get 10% off your first order.